This conference will now be recorded.
So we'll list out some more points related to your interview topics or points. The last session we discussed a few points. Now let me list out some more points that you need to figure out from your side before I start explaining about each of those points. So first one is your screen layout and transaction layout. Screen layout and transaction layout. Second one is line layouts in the enjoy screens or in the transaction posting screens. When I mean line layout, I mean basically the single screen transactions like your FB50, FB60, FB70 or FBCJ, these kind of a single screen transactions wherein you need to change the position of the field. The order will have to be reassigned. Okay, this kind of a things is nothing but your line layout in the transaction posting screen. Next one, default account assignments. When you talk about default account assignment, we are especially representing cost center and profit center. How you are going to derive default cost center, how you are going to derive default profit center. Next one, validations. Next one is your substitutions. Next point, account determination. Next point, layouts and variants. Layouts and variants. Next point, tables related to master data and transaction data. Next one, tables related to configuration data. Which master record, which transaction, which configuration, I will explain you on what topics you need to prepare the tables. Next one, business process of FI and MM integration along with movement types. Next one, it will be the same. 11th point will be business process of FI and ST integration along with movement types. 12th point, material ledger in S4HANA. 13th point, activation of material ledger. 14th point, standard cost estimation. 15th point, valuation class, modifier, general modifier, 16th point, tables related to cash journals and cash reconciliations. How many we have written? We have listed 16 points. Next. Configuration related to addition of a new condition from ST and side. In short, if there is any new condition created from side or from ST side, what you will be doing as a FICO consultant. Next one. Month-end activities related to product costing. Next one, internal order and cost center differences. Next point, report painter. Next one, COPA, process overview. Next one, value fields. What is the other term apart from value field in COPA?
Characteristics.
Characteristics. Sticks. Creation logic. How do you create a new value field? How do you create a new characteristic in COPA? Next one, FI COPA reconciliation. Okay, this is valid only in ECC. In S4 there is no reconciliation called FI COPA. Next point is your postings in special periods. Postings in special periods. Next point is retained earnings, opening and closing balance calculation logic. How system is going to determine opening and closing balance of your retained earnings. Next point, FI to PP, PS, HR integration basics. They're not mandatory, but it's always good to know how your FI is integrated with PP, PS and HR module. At the same time, PM module. Point number 27. Functional specification writing logics. On what logic? You are going to write functional specification. Next one, custom report development logics. If you have to develop a new custom report, what logics, what points you are going to consider? Point number 29. What else I'll write? Intercompany reconciliations. Point number 30. What else I'll put here? This. Material price calculations. So standard and moving average. Next one, accounting and costing views basics in material master. Next one, costing lot usage. Next one, till here it's sufficient. I think it has become more now. 32. Now next activity for you is to identify, to find out certain basic points related to these things that are listed on your Excel sheet. I have listed 32 points. For these 32 points, I want everybody to find out at least some basic information, so that when we are going to discuss in detail about each point, I want everybody to contribute. I want everybody to tell different points to me, so that we will understand what exactly you will be questioned on these topics in the interview, what exactly you have to talk, how you have to explain, how you need to handle the cross questions on these areas. These are the most common topics that you will be questioned in your interviews. Okay, these are the most common topics that you will be questioned in your interview. Make sure you put at least your effort of 10%. At least try to put 10% of your effort. The remaining 10, I will explain you. I'll make you understand what is everything, what you are going to be questioned, how you are going to answer for all of this. In short, just to give you overview about what is what at very high level. First one, I'm talking about screen layout and a transaction layout. When we are talking about a screen layout and a transaction layout, this is normally used to hide a particular field from a specific screen. Let's say if I log into SAP, .1909, I go to FB50. If I go to FB50, I have point number one, I have two different tabs here.
That email, you would say, my manager asked me to. So, and as you can see, I mean, Shanavas himself, that project is, I don't know what state it's in, but it seems complicated. So do the best you can to help him. Okay.
Please be on mute. I think
go live and then you have warranty. If it becomes crazy like Italy and Spain, you saw all the raiders, Monica.
All right, thank you. Okay, let's say if you look at this screen, you are able to see two tabs here. First one is basic tab, second one is a details tab. My requirement maybe I do not want to see this details tab. So I want, when I log into this screen FB50, the details tab should not be visible. I should only see basic data tab. Your intention or your requirement is to disable this details tab, or I want to disable a particular field from the screen. Either I want to disable a particular tab, or I want to disable a particular field. These kind of things you will be achieving based on screen layout and a transaction layout. So you can even tell this screen layout, standard layout, as your support tickets, as your support incidents. So we will be discussing in detail with valid requirements. Next one, line layout in the transaction posting screens. Let's say this is the particular screen wherein I want to change the sequence of the order. After GL account I have amount, after amount I have tax code and all, but after amount I want to see profit center, I want to see cost center. I don't want to scroll right side every time to get a particular field. So how you are going to change this one? This is called as your line layout. Another one, let's say when I try to make any payment in any company code, when I click on process open item, there is nothing here. F-53 again, let me change to DEIN. Process open item. Here whatever the fields I'm able to see. I'm able to see document number, document date, document this one. Here I want to see some other field. I want to see the additional field here. Let's say I want to see assignment here. How do I get assignment field here? So this may be one of the valid requirements from your client. Now all these kind of things you can talk about in your interview as a support ticket, support incident. Okay, this is what when I say line layout. Or if you go to FBCJ cash journal, even in cash journal I want to change the order of the fields here. Every time I don't want to scroll right side so long to see a particular field. I want to have the list of fields in the sequential order one by one. Or here also I want to disable a particular field. I have check payment, I have cash receipt, I have cash payment, cash receipt and check receipt. Let's assume that we are not using a cash receipt for petty cash. You do not want to see this cash receipt table here. This tab I don't want to see. Whenever I come to this petty cash screen, I should see only these two tabs. This should be disappeared, or a particular field from this I want to hide. So how we will be achieving this? So these kind of requirements we have to take, and we have to practically see, understand, and the same thing you can explain in your interview. Next one, default account assignments. When we talk about default account assignment, we normally mean the transactions that are posted in the background. First of all, we need to understand what are the transactions that are posted in the background, wherever you are not giving the GL account manually, but the entry is getting posted. These kind of things are called as your automatic postings, or the GL posting based on the account determination. In such scenarios, I want a system to determine either cost center if it is a P&L account, or profit center if it is a balance sheet account, to be determined automatically based on the specific requirement. How these requirements are met? On what basis you are going to define default cost center, default profit center? At least couple of valid reasons, couple of valid examples we need to have, so that you can explain these points in your interview as your support tickets. Next one, validations. What is validation? How you are going to write a validation? You should have the configuration knowledge. At the same time, you should have valid business requirements on which you worked on validation. Similarly, substitution. What is a substitution? Where do you use a substitution? If I put default account assignment, if I put substitution, which one will take the top priority? Whatever is coming from the validation, will it be taking top priority, or my substitution will be taking the top priority? Something like this, you need to have certain requirement, and you can explain these points also in your interviews. Account determination. When you talk about account determination, it is nothing but declaring or maintaining the GL account in the background. In a particular screen, you will go and maintain the account determination setting. If you talk about your baseline configuration, even before you know what is the account determination, we all would have configured chart of account. In your chart of account, everybody would have assigned a GL account called retained earnings in OB53 screen. In OB53, whatever the GL account that you have updated is called as account determination setting. Similarly, if you create special GL transactions, you have something called account determination. For asset accounting GL posting, account determination. For FIMM integration, account determination. For FIST integration, account determination. For tax posting, account determination. For your discount postings, account determination. Likewise, there are different areas where you will be configuring account determination. You should make a list of it. What are all the different kind of account determination where each account determination is taking place? What is the business process there, and how the GL accounts are taken from the background, from the backend? In which T code you are maintaining it, and in which table this account determination is updated. Next one, layouts and variants. How layouts are created and how variants are created, where do you use this? So you may get a question that, can you explain me few layouts that you have created in your project? Can you explain me certain variants that you have created in your project? Or what is layout, what is variant? Now, whenever you pull out any report, normally you will get a layout. Whenever you pull out any report, you will get a layout. For example, if I take any GL account, if I take any GL account, whatever the output that I'm able to see here, this is called as a layout. Layout means sequential order of the output fields. Now these layouts, how you are going to create it, how you are going to set a layout as default, what is a standard layout, what is user specific layout. This is about your layout. And what is a variant? Every time I don't want to input this information, the moment I come to this screen, I want my input parameters to be automatically filled up. So what you will do, you will fill up the information that you are going to use for executing the report. You will simply click on save. The moment you click on save, you will get an option called save as variant. The moment you click on this, you will get an option called save as variant. Now what is variant? Where do we create this variants? How do we create this variant? How these variants are used in your project? In which process, in which functionality you have used variant, and what was the requirement? How did you create the variant? These points we have to understand when we talk about layout and variant. Next one, tables related to master data and a transaction data. This is very, very important. If you're talking about master data, first you need to have a list of master data that you are going to handle from FI point of view and from CO point of view. Let's say GL account, customer account, vendor account, asset account, tax related things and all. From the CO side, cost center, profit center, cost element, internal order, so on, where each of this master data is getting stored in the backend table. If I have to pull the GL master, which table I need to refer? Similarly for customer, for vendor, what tables are to be referred? For asset. Next one, for the configuration. Let's say, where do you find the company codes? which table stores your company code, which table stores your chart of account, in which table you will find GL account groups, in which table you will find your integration related settings. If you maintain FIMM integration, from where I can see the FIMM integration settings, from where you can see FIST integration settings, where do you find automatic payment program related output. If you process BRS, electronic BRS or manual BRS, in which table BRS processed data will get stored. If you post any taxation, in which table your tax data will get stored. If it is a normal taxation, which table to be referred. If it is withholding tax, which table to be referred. Similarly, one-time vendor postings. If you are posting any one-time vendor account posting, for every vendor account transaction, you will have to input name and address of the vendor. If I have a one-time vendor, if I post 10 entries to the one-time vendor, I must be updating name and address 10 times. For one one-time vendor account, if I post 10 entries, I would have posted 10 documents with 10 different names, 10 different addresses for the same vendor number. How do I know for a particular one-time vendor document what is the name and address used? Which table will store one-time vendor posting name and address? Like this, there are certain tables that you must know. Next one, business process of FIMM integration along with movement types. Normally, when you talk about FIMM integration, so it's up to you whether you start from quotation, purchase requisition, purchase order, or you can straight away start from purchase order. If you start from purchase order, if you go to goods receipt, if you go to invoice receipt, then if you go to payment, if you go to BRS, where do you get the financial impact in your FIMM scenario? In FIMM, what are all the possible scenarios that you can talk about? Apart from purchase, if you are transferring the stock from one plant to the other plant, if you are transferring the stock from one location to the other location, right? If you are scrapping the stock, if you are using the stock internally, if you are issuing the stock to a project, or if you are issuing the stock to a process order, if you are issuing the stock to a sales order, likewise different things. If you are issuing the stock for the subcontracting purpose, this kind of a simple basic points, you need not know completely about it, but at least there are certain scenarios. What is what at high level, if you know, at high level if you remember, that is sufficient. And what are all the accounting entries that will get posted during your integration? Which movement types are used? Whenever you are talking about FIMM integration, it is very important that you remember the movement types. You are telling everything about integration, but you are not able to tell the movement type. I feel that you mugged up. Or you read from somewhere. That is why you are not able to tell me the movement type. Always remember, whenever you talk about MM related scenarios, you should always talk about with movement type. Not for everything, but at least certain basic points. Similarly, for the SD integration or for the SD process, when you're talking about SD integration or SD process, from sales order, what is going to happen when you do the delivery, when you do the post goods issue, when you do the billing, when you pick the returns, when you collect the amount, when you perform the BRS, what is going to happen? Certain basic scenarios along with the accounting entries. If there are any movement types, what movement types are used? These points you have to know. Next one, material ledger in S4HANA. This is very important, because in ECC, usage of your material ledger is optional, but whereas in your S4HANA, usage of material ledger is mandatory. So you must activate the material ledger. First thing, you need to create a material ledger. Material ledger is created against valuation area. Valuation area is nothing but a plant. So you must know how many plants are there in your company code. These plants will be created by the MM consultant. For every plant, we will be creating a valuation area. This valuation area is activated as material ledger. Unless you activate material ledger, MM consultant cannot do anything for a particular material. So it will stop them creating the material master, performing the transaction and all, if material ledger is not activated. This one you need to know, and how you are going to activate material ledger, in which transaction you are going to activate material ledger. While activating the material ledger, what criteria, what parameters you are going to check. Are you going to just like that go to this transaction code called CKM start and then activate, or you are going to verify anything from this transaction? If you are verifying something from the transaction, what are you verifying? Next one, standard cost estimation. What do you mean by standard cost estimation? How do you estimate a standard cost for a particular product? What are the steps? What will happen in each step? Next one, valuation class, valuation modifier, general modifier. This is basically used in your FIMM integration. So you need to know what is valuation class, why we use it, what is valuation modifier, why we use it, what is general modifier, why we use it. Next one, tables related to cash journal and cash reconciliation. If you are talking about petty cash or cash journal, in which table your cash journal config is maintained, in which table your cash journal transactions are stored. What do you mean by cash reconciliation? In any project, how do they reconcile the cash transactions? Next one, configuration related to addition of a new condition from SD and MM side. In case if there is a new condition record which is created from MM side or from SD side, what are you going to do if a new condition type is created from either MM side or SD side? Let's say they have created a new condition called loading charges, or they have created a new condition called additional discount or freight charges, special discount, something like this. For this new condition type, what you are going to do as a FICO consultant, if there is any configuration that you are going to do, what is that configuration you need to know. Next one, month-end activities related to product costing. This is a mandatory point to be known to everybody, whether you work on CO, product costing, or you do not work on CO. But if somebody is asking you what are the month-end activities, you must be in a position to tell, right? Variance calculation, settlement, overhead, WAP, all these points you must be in a position to tell in a sequential order. Whether you know what happens inside it or not, that is secondary. But at least you should know the list of activities that are performed as part of month-end activities for product costing. Next one, difference between internal order and cost center. So why we use internal order, why we use cost center, what do you mean by capital expenditure, operating expense, which one do you recommend to use, and what is your internal order, what is your cost center if you are using both together, what is real object, what is a statistical object, all these kind of points you need to bring when you're talking about internal order and cost center differences. Next one is your report painter. You need not work on report painter, but at least you should know some basics about report painter. If somebody is asking you about report painter, make sure you know at least what is report painter, why we use it, where we use it, at least one or two sample reports where this report painter can be used for your FICO related content. Let's say you can simply use this report painter for drafting your aging reports or cost center reports. Next one, COPA process overview. What is COPA? Why we use COPA? What kind of reports you can generate from COPA? Okay, the basic process overview you must know about COPA. You cannot say that I do not know about COPA. That is very, very wrong, invalid. So you must say what is COPA, how it is used, why we use it, what are the benefits of using COPA. Because whoever uses sales, they must be using COPA in all the projects. Right? What kind of reports you are going to generate? Because for you to generate product level profitability, you must use COPA reports. Next one, what is value field, what is characteristic, and how you are going to create a value field, how you are going to create a characteristic in COPA. If you have to add a new value field, if you have to add a new characteristic, how you are going to do this. Next one, FI COPA reconciliation. How do you make sure that the data that is there in COPA, the data that is there in FI are in sync? They are matching. This is exclusively used in your ECC module, not on S4HANA module. In ECC module, it is used exclusively if you are working on costing based COPA. If you are using costing based COPA, what do we mean by FI COPA reconciliation? So what you are going to reconcile from FI to COPA. Next one, postings in special periods. If you have to post any particular entry in the special period, is there any prerequisite, is there any criteria that needs to be followed? If yes, what is this and why you post entries in special periods? How you are going to post entries in special periods? Next one, retained earnings opening and closing balance calculation. Unlike the other GL account balances, your retained earnings opening balance, closing balance will not tally. Closing balance of retained earnings account will not agree with opening balance of retained earnings account. So why the retained earnings opening closing balances will mismatch? What is the logic to calculate the retained earnings opening closing balance? You must know. Next one, if there are any integrations that you are aware of, let's say FI to MMST is mandate. No exception for it, but FI to PP, FI to PS, FI to HR, FI to PM. If you are aware of any integration for these modules, you can talk about this module integration. You need not know, you need not work on this, but at least if you know some basic points about these integrations, this will always going to add value in your interview. Functional specification, writing logics. If you have to write a functional specification, what logics you are going to consider? How do you prepare a functional specification? What are the points that you are going to consider while preparing a functional spec? Similarly, if you are talking about any custom report, if you have to develop a custom report, what will be your approach? What logics you are going to take for preparing a custom report? Do you develop a report from the scratch, or you will copy any report and then make additional modifications in the report? If yes, what logics you are going to take, how you are going to verify the numbers from the reports? Next one, intercompany reconciliations. What do you mean by intercompany reconciliation? To talk about this, we must know about what is intercompany related transaction first. What kind of transactions will happen between intercompanies? In general, you have intercompany sale, intercompany purchases. Between the intercompany sale, intercompany purchases, there will be no physical movement of the cash. In short, there will be no physical settlement process with payment. A company, B company are two intercompanies, which means they are part of one group. A company is selling to B company is selling to A company. Now they don't pay to each other, instead they knock off against each other. So this is called as your reconciliation. How do you perform intercompany reconciliations? Next one, material price calculations. How you are going to calculate material prices using standard approach, standard cost approach. How you are going to calculate material prices using moving average price approach. If your material is valuated with standard cost, how the costing is calculated for different transactions. If your material is valuated with moving average price, how your material prices are calculated in different transactions. Next one, accounting and costing views basics in the material master. If you look at a material master, from the material master, as a FICO consultant, you are responsible for accounting 1, accounting 2 tab, costing 1, costing 2 tab. What information is stored in accounting and costing views? What points we need to know about these views? Next one, there is something called costing lot. There is a particular field called costing lot. What is this costing lot and why we use this? In short, these 32 points, whatever I have listed, are important from your interview point of view. Now, for all these points, I want everybody to prepare your analysis, your understanding, at least from 10% of your effort. At least put 10% of your effort, try to list out what is what according to your understanding. So that I will be discussing in detail about each and every point with valid examples, practical scenarios on the system. so that you will have a practical understanding, so that you can talk effectively in your interview. You can answer if you get any questions from these areas. Clear? So prepare on these points. Okay, let me stop this recording now.